Looking forward to seeing what
Operator shall call hold on the countdown net. Launch control abort the launch auto sequence immediately and proceed into the launch abort sequence. At T-minus 10 seconds.
Range is green, weather is green, and well, we're green. Green and ready to go for this launch. We are just T-minus 23 minutes and counting from the launch of Crew 4, the 4th astronaut rotation mission to the International Space Station under NASA's Commercial Crew Program. And it's going to be a good one, folks. The 4 astronauts are strapped in. Commander Kjell Lindgren, pilot Bob Hines, and mission specialists Jessica Watkins and Samantha Cristoforetti. They are strapped into their seats inside Crew Dragon Freedom. And we can see a live shot of their rocket as we look to the screen right now. That is the Falcon 9. The rocket fueling operation is well underway. The launch escape system is armed, and that means Crew Dragon is prepared to launch itself away from the Falcon 9 rocket in case of an emergency on the pad or even after liftoff. So far, operations look and sound as expected. We are counting down to that liftoff at 3:52 and 55 seconds in the morning, Eastern Daylight Time. And so far, everything has looked right on.
It has. It's wonderful to see just 22 minutes and 32 seconds remaining on the clock. I'm starting to get really excited.
When you were sitting inside that spacecraft, how did you feel?
Well, at that point, you are really focused. You are, you've sort of stopped with the chit chat and the storytelling, and you are very much watching the progress of the propellant loading, knowing that the time is counting down, and you're just really starting to get your head in the game and be ready for what's happening next.
That's a very serious part of the countdown, is that propellant flowing in. You can see those systems as you're looking on your screen and monitoring them. The mission is the continuation of rotational crew flights to the International Space Station from U.S. soil on private rockets and spacecraft, and this would not be possible without the success of NASA SpaceX Demo 2, the test flight 2 years ago, if you can believe it, the safe delivery and return of Crews 1 and 2, and of course, Crew 2 back on Earth 6 months ago, and that's why we have with us the pilot from Crew 2, Megan MacArthur. Appreciate you being here.
Absolutely. It's hard to believe it. I've been home for 6 months already and launched almost a year ago, but time travels.
Flying.
Yeah, it keeps moving.
It was 6 months that you were up in space. Do you notice that you were in space like now? Have you, the symptoms of having been up in space for that long completely passed? Or?
I would say they're 90% back to Earth normal, and there's some lingering things like back pain and some joint pain and things like that that will pop up. That I go, well, am I just older now, or is Earth just harder? But for the most part, back to normal.
Very good. Well, you've done a wonderful job for us tonight, and we appreciate it. As we continue to count down, we're looking for the next call out, which should be stage 2 RP1 load complete. It'll be followed by strong back chill has begun, and then we'll start loading stage 2 with liquid oxygen.
Stage 2 RP1 load is complete.
You can see the condensation coming off the rocket, that super chilled LOX, chilling down everything, including the skin of the rocket, so that it condenses the humid Florida air, and you see there the clouds are coming off, but at the very top it's also venting. T-minus 19 minutes, 40 seconds and counting.
It's an impressive sight. I forget that I can also look over my shoulder and see it in real life.
In fact, you just did that. We can't see you on camera, but Megan turned and wanted to see that it was the same thing she's looking at on screen, and indeed it is. We are bringing you live pictures of the launch of Crew 4 from the Kennedy Space Center in Florida Liftoff time 3:52 a.m. Eastern Daylight Time. If you're just joining us, we want to tell you a little bit about the crew on board. Dr. Kjell Lindgren is the commander. He was born in Taipei, Taiwan, but spent most of his childhood overseas in England. He is married with 3 children. He was an instructor and jump master with the U.S. Air Force Academy, and he also has a doctorate in medicine. He served as a NASA flight surgeon and then as an astronaut aboard Soyuz, where he spent 141 days in space during Expedition 44 and 45. And as I mentioned, today he is the commander of Crew Dragon. Sitting next to him is his pilot, Bob Hines, who was born in Fayetteville, North Carolina. There he is. He's married with 3 daughters. He has a Master of Science degree in aerospace engineering and served 21 years in the U.S. Air Force as a test pilot and as a fighter pilot in the F-15E. He came to NASA as a research pilot, but today he's the Crew 4 pilot for Crew Dragon Freedom. A fine commander and pilot. You understand the role of pilot very well. You served it in Crew 2.
That's right. The pilot's role is largely to help the commander keep track of what's going on with the systems, any off-nominal conditions, while the pilot is monitoring where the vehicle is and where it's going. So you work very closely together.
Jessica Watkins is one of our 2 mission specialists, and she considers Lafayette, Colorado her hometown. Her college rugby team won the national championship in 2008. She's a geologist who completed several internships with NASA, including one testing system designs for the Mars Perseverance rover. She became an astronaut in 2017, one of the many turtles that are going around here at the NASA astronaut crew team. She's going up into space for the very first time as a mission specialist. The second mission specialist is Samantha Cristoforetti. She was born in Milan, Italy. She has 2 children. She's a fighter pilot, and in 2013, Cristoforetti launched into space aboard a Soyuz for a long-duration spaceflight to the International Space Station. Several years later, she was awarded the Knight Grand Cross of the Order of Merit from the President of Italy. And today she returns to space with Crew 4, 2 fine mission specialists. Now, each of these 4 crew members will be a part of Expedition 67 once they arrive at the International Space Station. If you are here locally and watching this broadcast and want to step away from the screen,
Stage 2 lock load has begun.
Just heard the call out for Stage 2 prop load. As I was mentioning, if you're listening to the radio, you can find the launch coverage on the frequencies you see at the bottom of your screen. VH radio frequency 146.940 on the megahertz scale, and UHF radio at 444.925 in the FM mode on the megahertz scale. All of that can be seen, or heard rather, here on the Space Coast. Megan, let's talk a little bit about your science. Your team spent 199 days in space, a record, you call it 200, a SpaceX record for an entire crew of astronauts. With all that time spent on board Space Station, can you explain how Space Station acts as that orbiting laboratory where Crew 4 is heading right now?
Absolutely. So Space Station is obviously a very unique environment, right? It's long-term access to micro-G environment that scientists can't replicate or simulate accurately here on Earth. So it's the ability to run these experiments that teach us fundamental things about the physics of fluid mechanics, about combustion, things that we can't, again, replicate on Earth that can lead to discoveries that can benefit us in space, but can also benefit us back on Earth, like understanding diseases well enough to create new treatments for them, or understanding combustion in a new way to allow us to build cleaner burning engines.
You mentioned some of the science that you've worked on. What was the most impressive and stands out to you in your mind?
Well, it's hard to choose a favorite, but of course one that is always popular is one you get to eat. So we got to participate in the Plant Habitat 4 experiment, where we grew chili peppers that hailed from Hatch, New Mexico. And so we got to monitor them over a period of many months. It was a fruiting plant that took a long time to germinate and to fruit. And for long duration missions, will provide an important vitamin C and other minerals for crews on long duration missions. missions, and they were also just really tasty. So that was a lot of fun.
That's a bonus. And growing plants in space is part of deeper space exploration, especially growing them in mass amounts, right? So that you can feed a crew.
Absolutely right. It'll be an important part of those future missions.
Crew 4 will fly aboard a brand new Dragon capsule, by the way, that the astronauts named Freedom. But the booster has flown 3 previous times, and there you can see it there with the sooty-covered NASA meatball right above them. That's Crew 4 below, standing next to their booster. This flight will be the 4th for that booster, which is a first for NASA and ESA astronauts. Now, at the time that booster lights and takes that crew into space, the International Space Station will be 260 miles over Western Romania. We talked a little bit earlier about chasing down station. Well, when this thing lights, Crew 4 will then spend the next 16 hours chasing down the International Space Station for a rendezvous at 8:15 this evening. And there's a special guest there. That is an Apollo astronaut, Harrison Schmitt. He is a moonwalker, you may recall. One of the 12 men who walked on the moon. He launched on the night of December 7th, 1972, from the same launch pad we're using tonight, Pad 39A. And then 3 days later, Schmitt and Commander Gene Cernan landed on the moon. What an honor to have him watching tonight. He, a geologist, watching another geologist, Jessica Watkins, going up to space today, so they share that. And Harrison Schmitt, one of the 4 surviving astronauts who walked on the moon. Buzz Aldrin, David Scott, Charlie Duke, and Harrison Schmitt. And they are a national treasure. Megan, we are T-minus 12 minutes and counting. Some final thoughts as we get ready to light this candle for, by the way, Samantha Cristoforetti's birthday was yesterday.
Yes.
What a big birthday candle. That's
right. It's a pretty good birthday celebration, I think.
She's going to enjoy that. But what will they experience the moment of liftoff?
The moment of liftoff is really, it's hard to describe. I've heard it described as lots of different things. A kick in the pants, someone hits your chair with a baseball bat. It's almost indescribable because you start moving so fast and you're accelerating so fast the whole time that it's just a sensory overload. You're really, really moving fast. And on our crew, people enjoyed that very much. There was a lot of hooting and laughing basically in response to that. And as the rocket changes its speed, it accelerates down and then back up again. You feel all of that, and it's a tremendous ride.
Astronauts from Crew 4 getting ready to experience that. We're about to watch this launch. So at T-minus 11 minutes and 25 seconds, let's toss it to Andy at SpaceX in California.
Daryl, Megan, thank you so much. It's getting more and more exciting here as we are just about 11 minutes until liftoff. Things are still looking great for both Falcon 9 and Dragon. Falcon 9 began loading propellants at the T-minus 35-minute mark. We should finish around the T-minus 2-minute mark. Right now, densified liquid oxygen is loading and continuing on the first stage. And again, this is going to wrap up around the T-minus 2-minute mark. The Dragon mission director and team are reporting no issues. Communication checkouts are complete. The crew access arm is retracted. The launch escape system is armed, and the crew is strapped in and ready to go. Final instructions to the crew come in at the T-minus 10-minute mark. The crew displays will be configured for launch. This setup gives the crew insight into how the launch is proceeding and provides constant update on vehicle health. At T-minus 5 minutes, we'll be in terminal count, and the Dragon will transition to internal power. And we'll hear continued callouts on the countdown nets as we get closer and closer to liftoff. Range and weather are both green. Right now, I am joined by Dan. Dan, after ascent, we're going to hear some callouts for different types of abort modes, right?
Yeah, that's right. On the way uphill, you'll hear.
SpaceX, please confirm crew displays are configured for launch.
Freedom confirms. Displays are configured for launch.
SpaceX copies Crew 4, and on behalf of the entire SpaceX team, we're honored to have you aboard Dragon Capsule Freedom today. It has been a privilege working together to prepare for this launch to the International Space Station. We wish you a great mission, good luck, Godspeed, and time to let Freedom fly.
Copy, SpaceX. We'd like to take this opportunity to extend our thanks to our NASA, Spacex, international partner teams, and most of all our families for getting us to the threshold of this amazing opportunity to launch to the International Space Station from Kennedy Space Center. A heartfelt thank you to every one of you that made this possible. Now, let's let Falcon roar and freedom ring.
Okay, so crew displays are configured. The crew just reported they're good to go. They're ready to launch. Saw a couple of fist bumps there. But yeah, as you mentioned, we'll hear a couple of different call-outs on the way uphill, a combination letter and a number. You'll hear 1A right at liftoff, and these just correspond to the different abort modes. There's 2 for the first stage, and then A through E for the second stage, and these are telling the crew essentially which direction Dragon's going to be pointing when it performs a burn of those Super Draco engines. Also gives you an idea of where they're likely to come down if we have an abort on the way uphill. But you'll hear those throughout the flight uphill. You'll also hear a number of call outs from some of the key positions on the Falcon 9 team, the guidance navigation. SpaceX reports go, crew reports go.
30 seconds.
You heard it there, 30 seconds away from liftoff. T-minus 20.
T-minus 15 seconds. 10, 9, 8, 7, 6, 5, 4, 3, 2, 1, 0. Ignition. Liftoff. Go Falcon. Let freedom ring. Got speed 34. Vehicle is pitching downrange. Copy 1 Alpha.
Freedom soars and the Dragon flies forth. Vehicle already pitching downrange. All 9 Merlin engines have lit.
Stage 1 propulsion is nominal.
Getting good performance on stage 1 propulsion already.
T plus 35 seconds into the 4th rotational crew mission on board Dragon and the Falcon 9. The 9 Merlin 1D engines on the first stage are beginning to throttle down.
Stage 1, throttle down.
In preparation for max Q. This is where the vehicle will experience the highest amount of aerodynamic pressures, so we'll throttle down the engines in preparation for that event.
Vehicle is supersonic.
All right, so we've passed the speed of sound. We're already
Max Q.
And there's our call out for max Q.
Stage 1, throttle up.
So right after max Q, we will begin to throttle those engines up again.
Copy 1 Bravo.
And 1 Bravo, so we're in the second and final abort mode for the first stage. Continuing to get good performance though. The crew already pulling in excess of 2 Gs. And coming up next is going to be a couple of events in rapid succession.
Yep, in about 10 seconds here, we're going to be performing engine chill on the second stage MVAC engine. And then in about a minute, we're going to start off with MECO, also known as main engine cutoff. This is where those 9 engines that you're seeing ignite on, being lit up on screen, those are going to cut off in preparation for stage separation, where the first and second stages will separate from one another, and then the single Merlin vacuum engine on the second stage will ignite and continue to carry our Crew 4 astronauts to orbit.
And we heard that MVAC chill has started.
Stage 1, throttle down.
The 9 Merlin engines starting to throttle down. Standing by for MECO.
And MECO. Stage separation confirmed.
Right. So MECO, stage separation's confirmed.
Stage 2 Alpha.
And ignition.
We see that second stage engine light. We're in 2 Alpha, the second abort mode. The second stage is lit, continuing to carry the Crew 4 astronauts onto orbit.
And this is a fantastic view on the left-hand side. This is the first stage, now separated from the second stage, but it's still being illuminated by that single Merlin vacuum engine on the second stage on the right-hand side of your screen. So right now, the first stage is making its way back to Earth to attempt its fourth landing on our drone ship, a shortfall of gravitas. The crew is on the opposite side of the engine that you see on the right-hand side of your screen. They are continuing with their journey to outer space.
Seeing good performance on that lone Merlin vacuum engine on the second stage. The cruise G-load dips right when we hit that separation event, and it's going to continue to build up now. Just heard acquisition of signal Bermuda. That means we're
Dragon,
now...
SpaceX, nominal trajectory.
Freedom copies, nominal trajectory.
That was our guidance, navigation, and control officer. Nominal trajectory. Dragon's pointed in the right direction, continuing its flight to orbit. We heard Bermuda called out. That's one of the ground stations now receiving telemetry from the Dragon as it continues its path uphill. So we'll have the dueling boxes here for a while as the first stage makes its way down. That second stage going to continue firing until about a little over 8 minutes into the flight. Doing the heavy lifting now.
The first stage has a couple of events itself in order to land on our drone ship. So at T plus 7 minutes and 25 seconds, it's going to start its entry burn. It's going to be one of 2 burns. This is where 3 of the 9 Merlin
Dragon,
engines
SpaceX, nominal trajectory.
on the first stage will relight and burn for about 30 seconds in order to slow the vehicle down before hitting the denser parts of the Earth's atmosphere.
Acquisition of signal, New Hampshire.
All right, now on the New Hampshire ground stage, second stage continues to power. Call out just then, propulsion is nominal, the engine performing as expected. Crew pulling a little more than 1 1/4 Gs right now. Again, that's going to continue to ramp up, peaking just before we get to that second stage cutoff.
Yep, this single engine here, Dan, can produce over 220,000 pounds of thrust in the vacuum of space, so they are definitely feeling it.
And we're already about 200 kilometers in altitude.
Dragon, SpaceX, nominal trajectory.
Freedom copies, nominal trajectory.
Great call out that we are headed in the direction that we need to, and we just heard from Chell, the commander.
And we should get one more of those trajectory check-ins in about 30 seconds from now. And then we'll start to hit our events in rapid succession as the first stage continues to make its way back home. The second stage will start to wrap up its job of delivering these astronauts into orbit.
Yeah, we don't see there it is. What a magnificent view.